Hello, everyone, and welcome to Turn2, a podcast where we discuss everything Hearthstone. We took a couple weeks break, but we're back with two awesome guests. My name is Chobra, the host, joined by Gnimsh, my co-host, and our guests today will be Dethelor and Orange. So welcome, everyone. And we'll just take rounds here introducing ourselves so that all of our viewers can know who we are and where to find us. Why don't we start off with Dethelor?
All right, I'm Dethelor. My name is Dimitris. I'm 22. I'm from Greece, and my recent achievement was winning the Pinnacle qualifier, and I also reached the third place in that event.
Awesome. Good to hear. We'll get to talk about the Pinnacle 2 here in a little bit. But Orange, your introduction?
Yeah, my name is Jon Westberg. I'm 20 years old. I'm from Sweden. I've been playing Hearthstone since beta, and I'm a former Magic the Gathering player on some professional level since I was 12 years old, so for a very long time. I've recently won first a qualifier for the Millennium House Cup in France, where I played, and then not even a month after, I came second in the qualifier for Pinnacle and finished fourth in that this last weekend.
Yep. Awesome. Good to hear. So let's just jump right into it. I forgot to put in my notes, but as you guys both mentioned, you guys just recently participated in the Pinnacle qualifier, feeding into the tournament, and then making it there and getting third and fourth place respectively. Just run us through kind of what your experience was in the tournament, and what you think kind of the state of the meta is in tournament play from what you guys experienced.
You can start. It's fine.
Okay, I guess I'll start. The tournament was great. It was really fun because I haven't been playing that many major tournaments, so playing in another one where I actually qualified for was really sweet. I was really nervous going in, but just as my first match was done, it felt great. I've been playing so many open tournaments, so it just felt like another one of those. You didn't really think about there was 50,000 people watching you. But yeah, and to the metagame, I think right now, at least in the tournament scene, there's a lot of slow mid-range decks, which makes and the Druid being the single best deck right now, I think, since that deck is quite known to prey on those decks. And so you saw that in the assembly this just a week ago, that every single one playing in the assembly brought Druid, which is quite spectacular. And then there's in my opinion, some decks that people have not really caught onto yet, like Rogue, for example. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get to talk a little bit more about that. But what about you, Dethelor?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with all those. Druid and Mage are really powerful at the moment, especially Mage because it has three viable builds: Freeze, Mech, and Fatigue. And but yeah, a lot of classes are strong as well, like Rogue, Paladin, even Handlock is making a comeback.
Yeah,
we saw it
I saw that.
Yeah, but
yeah, continue.
Oh yeah, continue, please.
Yeah, sure. Just wanted to add that I believe that we have some things to see in GVG. I don't believe that the decks are perfect yet. There's still time to see probably a new deck rising up. And
so I always ask that question to all the people, but you both guys did really well in the last qualifier for the Pinnacle. You Orange did well in the Pinnacle 1 as well, you qualified, if I remember correctly. Dethelor, you also went through the Gamers Origin 2, and you finished second, or was it top 4?
I was second. I lost to Maverick in the finals.
Yeah, you were. So there were a lot of people. So you guys are very good at qualifying and going through the big pools of people. How do you prepare for tournaments? What are you thinking? How do you think about meta game? Are you trying to counter, or are you bringing your own ideas? Just tell me, how do you prepare so that you are going through all those people? Maybe Dethelor, if you can start.
All right, sure. before a big tournament, I tend to try to predict what my opponents will play, and I just take a pen and paper, and I just write all the possible decks. I even have some percentages, like if a deck is really popular, I expect most people to play it, and I try to make some decks that are strong, but in the same time, some decks that are very good against the meta. So if I see that like a cookie cutter deck is weak to what I expect people to bring, I will not play it in any case. And I think like in both of these tournaments, in the Gamers Origin Cup and even this one, I had one list that I believed it was very strong against the metagame, but it was not so strong in general. Like I had a warrior back in France with Harrison Jones and Ooze, and I think double silence, and it carried me through the Swiss round. And in this tournament, I had the Warlock deck, which won me a lot of games, and it's good against Druid, Paladin, Freeze Mage, because I have a lot of heal and so on.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's definitely interesting to hear that, you obviously you kind of work with the percentages, especially if you have to go through a mass qualifier, but you'll always try to have at least one that goes against kind of the grain. What about you, Orange?
Well, I'm more boring. Like usually, I play a lot with my team and my friends, like, and try to prepare with them. So we are like a group of people that are always playtesting for like open qualifiers or like pinnacle qualifiers or whatever there is. And like, for what I try to do is like figure out which the like the biggest decks of the meta is, and then I like try to plan out like how to counter them, and like just have a like solid overall lineup against all the big decks, which actually quite like it leaves me quite open, like usually to like these decks that are not known yet. Like Dethelor wrecked me in the qualifier finals with his Warlock deck. I thought he was playing Handlock, and then all of a sudden I took 28 to the face or something. It was quite an amazing feeling. But yeah,
it was a friendly match, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I just basically the same. I try to like write down what all the matchups are, and like have a spreadsheet and see what decks like what I do against every single deck, which is it's been working out lately, I guess.
Yep, spreadsheets are the way to go. Spreadsheets make world champions, right? We all learned that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Exactly. Firebat taught us a valuable lesson.
Before we move to another topic, I also have a question, like, because you both guys are almost there. Like you're making your name big. Like people start noticing you. Like you're on the show as well because you did have like good achievements. So what are the next steps for you guys? Like what are you going next? You just brought your name up a bit, and people are like, okay, this is Dethelor, this is Orange. Those guys were good here. Orange, you have the team. Like Dethelor, you don't have the team yet, right?
I'm in a team for like 10 months. Like I told you, it's I will speak a bit about it. It's called Order of Gul'dan. It's a very old Greek team. It used to be like the best Greek team, and it used to be very competitive. It's still a good team. We train a lot together. We win Greek LAN events, but yeah, it's not like a professional team.
All right. So what are the next steps for you guys? Maybe Orange.
Yeah, I don't really know where I am. Like I don't like this is all like after the Pinnacle and after Millennium Cup, like everything has been going like quite fast. I don't really know where I am in my career, so to speak. Yeah, I hope that I will continue to play like every open qualifier that I possibly can, and then I like, for example, now I got invited to Deck Wars, which was huge, and like I hope that I can get like maybe some invites here and there, like continue proving myself. Because I feel like in those tournaments I played where a lot of people watch, I've been doing pretty well, like without sounding too full of myself, but like I've been doing okay at least. So yeah, I hope to continue that basically, and yeah, and go on from there, and hopefully I can break through like big time someday.
Yeah, cool. Dethelor, I presume kind of similar train of thought here with Orange.
Yeah. a lot of stuff, but because I was really glad like 1 week ago because we learned that Greek players will be able to play in BlizzCon. I was left out from the last qualifier. I was like in the first season. I try hard it. I was fourth legend in the first season, and 10 days later, Blizzard told us we can't participate. RDU had the same problem. Guys from Portugal and so on. But now we will just try hard tournaments. The ladder. Yeah, I'll try to grind as much as I can. I'll play open qualifiers and hopefully I'll be able to get some invites because I have done this twice, but it's really difficult and you can't do this every time to qualify through a very big and tough pool.
Yeah, what I'm hearing obviously is the World Championship kind of the dream goal for any Hearthstone player. And last year, yeah, a lot of people kind of lost the motivation because you were like, oh, wait, I can't participate anyway. So there's really no point in me for the drive. But this year, it's definitely a lot more open. So I'm looking forward to seeing more names pop up. And you guys both mentioned, and both of you guys, we were just talking about how you guys are players who are growing out of like open qualifiers and just putting your name out there through proving yourself through results first. And this is something that, of course, Firebat spoke about after the World Championship too in his winter interview. He was like, for anyone out there, like there are tournaments eventually that will have open qualifiers, so you should keep at it. What are your stances on that, especially nowadays? I think so many tournaments, I mean, ESL Legendary Series has qualifiers, and even if not all of them are very open, it's much broader than just pure LAN invitationals. So do you think it's evolving in a healthy state that more people can kind of have a shot at proving themselves?
I guess I start. I think it's going quite smooth. I understand why all tournaments have a lot of people that are invited because promotional stuff. But I really like how almost every tournament these days actually have some qualifier spots, which is really good for us people because otherwise it would turn into a situation where the rich gets richer, which I'm very afraid of. I know, for example, in Powder from a former team member of IHOFU, he and me we played a lot together in beta and just after release, and then he broke through way earlier than me because he won a lot more tournaments stuff like that. And yeah, since then I've just been feeling it's been quite hard for people that aren't really a big name to break through, but it's actually getting there are so many tournaments with the ESL Legendary Series, with now the EU versus China qualifier, and as Assembly had qualifier spots, Pinnacle, Millennium Cup, you name it, almost every big tournament has qualifier spots, which is great, and I really like it.
Dethelor, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that I think more tournaments should have open qualifiers because some of them don't have any, and the ones that have, some of them just award too little slots, not enough slots. So probably they should balance it out, because we used to see the same players getting invited, but now we have some players that already proved themselves and they're taking the invites now. So I think it's healthy to see more people in the scene. And this is achieved through open qualifiers, because I think this is the way we learned people like Sixo. Thijs used to be pretty unknown and he just won everything online, and now he's a pro player.
Yeah,
it
brings a lot of light.
Blizzard is actually supporting this because even if the World Championships article where they are listing how can you because people, tournament organizers, they can organize tournaments that will earn you points for the BlizzCon qualification. And in that table, Blizzard is mentioning that you have to have a certain number or percent of people that are qualified. So it's telling the qualifiers, hey, okay, you can invite some people big streamers or big names for the viewership, but then you have to make the open qualifier so that the people who are not that known, they have a chance to actually go through all those guys and prove themselves.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, of course, on Blizzard then is just what we saw in the last World Championship. Not just Firebat, but other players too. A lot of relatively unknown players rising through the qualifiers and getting to play on the main stage, even if it's just round of 16. A lot of the audiences were like, "Well, I don't know who this guy is, but if he's made it this far, like he must be pretty good. Like he's top 16 in the world, right?" So this is all feeding into, I think, just healthier tournament community in Hearthstone. Now, I mean, there's a lot of tournaments we would like to cover just because it's been, I think, like 3 weeks since we've done Turn 2, and lots have happened. You guys have all been mentioning the assembly, which also happened very recently, so we can touch upon that. I know Gnimsh, you were there, and do you want to talk about kind of just how the assembly was, and also if you saw anything different from say what we saw in Deck Wars today, or what Orange and Dethelor talked about for the Pinnacle?
Sure. So Assembly was a tournament in Finland. It was a second Assembly in Finland, but this time there were more players from around the world, because the first one was mostly like the Finnish players playing. So,
Yeah.
I think this was the first LAN event of the year, and it was just after the Undertaker nerf. So like some people, like Number Guy, they weren't even aware that the Undertaker was nerfed, so he just brought the decks. It's like, yo, whatever. I just brought my good decks, and he actually did pretty well. I think he was top 3 in the
Second.
end. He was
He was
second, yeah.
second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was actually second. So, well, he was maining Paladin. He played against me as well. Like he owned me with Paladin 3-0, and the Undertaker nerf was like not even mattering in that matchup. But basically, we did have to make the changes and mind the Undertaker. The tournament itself was pretty nice. We had like a player lounge because it was like assembly tournament, which is kind of like a small dream hack. A lot of people, a lot of games, different games. Hearthstone was one of them. And a lot of people with their own PCs set up, like just a big LAN, everybody having fun and like playing games. Organizers were pretty nice, so everything was well organized, and it was comfortable to play, more or less. Like we have group stages first with double elimination, which is always good because you do fly to Finland, you want to play as many games as possible, and not like play one match, lose, and and then you're like, okay, I'm done. I'm just coming back. So it felt kind of like a house cup. So like a good atmosphere, not that many players. Most of the people known each other. They had open qualifiers as well. So we had people from advanced from open qualifiers, which was amazing. And yeah, like a Vortex, who was a player who had some wins before. He did play in a couple of tournaments, but he's like coming back to Assembly and showing his skills and taking everything down with a Paladin deck, having like an insane score of I don't know, like 15-2 or something with his Paladin deck alone.
He dropped one game.
Yeah,
Just
he
one.
dropped like one game.
I-
All right.
I saw the bracket was like 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, 3-1.
Yeah,
and
it was pretty crazy.
I have no idea how we did that.
Yeah, so definitely I enjoyed Finland and the tournament. I would go again. Like if they have Assembly Summer or something, Helsinki, just a beautiful city, and that was so much fun.
I've never been to Finland. I'd love to visit, but you guys have all been in a LAN setting, whether different tournaments. But Dethelor, you talked about it being in LANs in Greece, and Orange, you were at the Millennium Cup. What do you guys, how do you feel about LAN settings for Hearthstone? Like, is it kind of what you imagined it would be? Is it definitely by far more fun, or you think? I mean, it's like a 1v1 game. Online's fine. It's just a little bit more interaction. What are your thoughts on that?
They don't DDoS you when you're at LAN, so I prefer it.
Good one.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I guess that's bottom line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
guess
like-
like, well, I can tell you from my perspective. Basically, the difference between online tournament and LAN is that when online you are in your comfort zone, like you sit in your chair, you maybe are using some overlays like Hearthstone Tracker, whatever. You can look at the deck list, or like you are in the comfort place, and you know that you can do whatever. Also, your opponents, maybe they can try to cheat because they have like people on Skype and stuff. Like you can't prevent that. So you are in this like weird environment there. On the LAN, you are on your own. Basically, you are sitting there, you have the headphones, noise cancellation headphones, and he has to focus on the game. Also, you have the live audience, so people are more stressed, and like it requires an additional set of skills that the online player doesn't require much. So it's like a different thing for the player when you play. But you ask about atmosphere as well. I think it's great, like because Hearthstone community is just fantastic. Like the people are traveling all those events. Everybody is cheerful. Everybody is like friendly. So if there is a new person, we just welcome the new person and say, "Hey, you are this guy. I've seen you in that tournament, in that tournament." So like, welcome to the family. So I personally enjoy the LANs really, really greatly.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. I do prefer the LANs way more. Like, I actually the first LAN I ever attended since I come from Magic the Gathering was it's at TCG, like not online. So like it was DreamHack Winter, and I was like blown away about how many people there was and how fun it was. It was amazing. And then like Millennium House Cup, which was like it not a LAN, but it was like this House Cup
Right.
with just 8 people. Everyone was just great. Like the real life experiences have been like far. Like I do enjoy playing online, but like then being like actually meeting the people you are playing against is like way better in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm also used to playing a lot of LANs, so it's more chill for me to play in a LAN setting. Yeah, because like I've played in a lot of online cups. Some of them were streamed, but like with not a lot of viewers. But when I played the Pinnacle, it was like something new to me to play from home and have like 60K on Twitch. So I was really nervous before the event started. But yeah, in LAN events, it's like I'm now used to it, even to audiences, even to like people talking to you all the time and stuff. I enjoy it a lot, and we have a big scene here, so it helps to do things like in your city, and then go. For example, I went to Paris, and I was used to the situation.
Yeah, cool.
I actually
Yeah, that's. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
actually have a follow-up question because you mentioned that you have a big scene, and Greece was always present like last year. So I just wanted to ask, like, can you tell us more about the Greek scene for Hearthstone? Like, how many players you have? How often the tournaments happen, the local ones? And
Yeah, I was curious too.
All right, sure. We have like different organizations, 6 in total, and some of them have their own tournaments, which are open to everyone. And we just made one, which is like a combined effort of all 6 of them, and it was like in this Sunday. Yeah, it was a pretty big event. Yeah, generally we have online cups like every 10 days or 15 days. And LANs mostly at least once a month, and the big LANs are like every 2 months, every 3 months, something like that. But we all know each other. We practice together sometimes, and yeah, we have a lot of players, and I think Gnimsh, you know some of them as well. You met them in DreamHack and so on, and yeah, we also had some good results recently. We had like the two finalists in the ESL Europe versus China are Greeks.
oh,
So we were kidding and calling the event Greece versus China, and but yeah, hopefully we can send a player.
I'll put a stop to that. Don't worry.
All right.
Sure.
challenge.
Oh man, but yeah, that's really exciting to hear that you guys have such like a regular stream of tournaments and going on in Greece, and that it's healthy and keeping up, and combined efforts happening too. That's always a good sign as it grows. But speaking of esports scenes in other regions of Hearthstone, of course, now it's been what, like 2 weeks or maybe a week and a half since the Invitational hosted in Korea. It was only like 4 players, but really more of an effort now from Koreans to try to get Hearthstone to be a little bit more, for players to be more aware of the esports scene in Hearthstone. And Savitz wins 3-1 in the final against Reynav. Reynav actually, of course, we all know most recently Reynav finally got a win, but before that he had to take the step of getting second again against Savitz in the event Invitational. But Savitz also, I guess, Savitz is, I feel like Savitz is one of those players that in beta was kind of like the staple name, and then kind of quieted down for a little while in tournaments at least. I mean, he was still invited a lot. Everyone knew who Savitz was, but he hasn't had a big win. And Invin, while it wasn't a huge tournament, still gets his first place. I don't know if any of you guys got to watch that. They had a side stream going on in English. Mainly, it was just for the Korean audience, but hosted by Team Liquid, in fact. But if if we didn't get to watch it, obviously also since then the meta's changed and now we have the Undertaker nerf and whatnot, so not too much point in breaking down the decks a lot, but it's something to touch upon. Of course, Kingwin Winter edition also happened after that, and I mean there's a couple of key points here for Kingwin Winter. Obviously, one is the DDoSing, but we'll talk about DDoSing separately because I think it's a much bigger topic. But what do you guys think about Kingwin Winter, and also just Kingwin now really being a huge name in the Hearthstone scene?
The floor want to start?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. The floor, yeah, just go.
All right. Yeah, I didn't watch like the latter stage of the tournament because I was pretty busy with some stuff and I was playing in the LAN. But I watched the first series of games. So I think the players, I don't know if they changed their decks in the tournament because they had to submit their lists a while ago before the nerfs.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember some decks. For example, Colento brought a mid-range Warlock with some demons inside, which was pretty interesting. And yeah, it's a nice thing that Kingwin has come to the scene and made these charity tournaments. I think it's like it helps the scene to grow bigger and bigger. And hopefully we can see a qualifier in that tournament as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe.
I just want to follow up that it's like amazing that one of the sponsors it's just getting into Hearthstone, and at this point I think like when people think Hearthstone they think Kingwin kind of a bit because we have so much Kingwin everywhere. Like Kingwin sponsoring teams, Kingwin's making those tournaments and being like everywhere. So it's amazing that for us players that we have those tournaments, we can play in them. They have like good prize pools as well, like good casting and stuff. So that's fantastic. Like same with like Invitational, like another tournament that is going to promote Hearthstone. That well, this time there was no qualifier. I feel right, only the invites. Because it's an invitational. But so it is another tournament for people to play. So like even if you can't qualify, some people will play it and they won't play another one where you can qualify. So the more tournaments we have, the better. And like I think after the World Champs, I was afraid that after World Champs the season ends and everything goes like quiet and December is like empty and January is empty. People like wait budgets and stuff. But no, like in Hearthstone, we had so many things happening, like Kingwin, the Rise of Kingwin. We have all those tournaments. We have the Rise of Pinnacle from Archon. So people are interested in those tournaments. And we have like new parties organizing tournaments, and we will have those old parties coming back as well. We had Tavern Takeover. We'll probably have VGVN again. So maybe those Via Game House Cups coming back. So guys, like at some point you will be choosing, it's my weekend. Do I want to qualify for this or for that or for that? Because there are like 3 things coming at the same time. So I think that's amazing for this year. And last year was great for Hearthstone. This year will be even better.
Yeah.
Fully agree.
Yeah, what a time to be alive. For Hearthstone.
I would rather be invited and not have to go through the qualifiers, but yeah, it's something.
But again, just we've been talking about this, and just already the fact that we have so many tournaments to talk about alone, it used to not be the case, right? In the past, it would used to be like, well, this big LAN happened, and then for like a month we'll wait, and there were smaller like online tournaments. But now, even online tournaments, there are enough that are considered big, right? That are considered staple tournaments that are now getting attention. Like the ESL Legendary Series, also like a weekly thing. Of course, we have Deck Wars here in Machinima. It's a weekly, but it gathers enough momentum that people really pay attention to it. So I think it's exciting that we have a fairly healthy share, I'd say, of invitationals and qualifiers. I'm sure the qualifiers will also grow, as we've all been speculating. And all of this eventually to lead into the World Championship, of course. We talked about that briefly, but we talked about Umasana a little bit on the tabletop. Now, there's been quite a few changes to this. One, of course, big one for Dethelor is that now you can actually qualify, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
But other than that, the point system has changed a little bit. The tournament system has changed. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Let's start with the point system, right? They've expanded it a bit more so that there are varied points in the legend rank. What are your opinions?
Orange.
I just want to say that I love how they made it. That like last season, it was like if you didn't make top 16, yeah, tough luck, try again. Like top 100 is like, yeah, that you have so much more to like aim for. Like you don't have to like, because for most people, like getting top 16 is like you have to do it. You have to play a lot to get top 16, and like you have to really try hard. But like top 100 is way more manageable, like with less time. Like you, like for most people, it ain't easy. Like not for me, for example, but you know, it's still way more manageable than like getting top 16, which is like especially when everyone is fighting for it.
Yeah.
Like you know, all these, like I can very easily like tell you more than like 32 people that are like way more likely to get in like top 16 than I am, for example, and like that takes away like some of it. Like of course you want to prove yourself, but you know, like you have to go through so many good players to like get top 16, and like now getting top 100, it's just that they award points for that is so much better in my opinion, and like the biggest and the change that I like the most. Then when it comes to these tournament like the tournament things that like depending on the prize pool you get points, as of my understanding. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's like the bigger tournament, the bigger the points.
Yeah, like it goes a little bit with the rich gets richer thing that I talked about earlier, because like if you get invited to tournaments, you get the opportunity to play in more of those. But then again, like that, they added that some percentage of people have to be qualified is definitely great, and it's very understandable that they do this because you know promotion, like they want to promote the game, and they do that via the like famous players. So it's very understandable. But and adding the qualified thing is great. So like overall, I really like it.
Dethelor.
Yeah, it was a great initiative by Blizzard, and I didn't really like the top 16 system, and I got a story to share about it. I was like, 2 hours before the reset, I was like at 11 or 12, so I was like, I couldn't play a game because if I lost, I would be like at top 20. So I just had to wait patiently to see if I will get if I will drop below 16, and I was like I believed that it would be very on the point, and like I was like top 16 30 minutes before the reset, and suddenly I dropped from 16 to 18, and that was like for 1 hour. My rank didn't change for 1 hour, yeah, and I dropped from 16 to 18 without playing in like 30 minutes, and with 30 minutes on the clock, I had to grind back to 16, so I just played one game. I won it, and I just was top 4 because I had a huge winning spree. But it was very luck based unless you grinded way up to 1.
Yeah.
And how is it? How is it different now, really? Because like you're Orange saying that top 100 matters, but then again, you get only 1 point from 50 to 100. So, like from my experience, the last 2 days of the season, I was like going on both EU and NA. It was really tough, and like on Friday, I was like 13th on EU, and I was like, okay, I want to be top 10, so I continued playing, and then I fell like to 100 plus, and then I went back to like 20 plus, and I was like, well, I was 13th before, so I can probably get to top 20 at least. And then I went back out of top 100 and never made it back. And I just switched to NA where I was like 50. And I was like, well, I can't be 50. It doesn't mean anything. It's just 1 point. So I played and I went to like 20 plus. And then I went again outside of 100. So it was like crazy like last 2 days. So I'm not sure. I mean, it's still super tough. And I feel like top 20 is the thing. Like you want to be top 20 anyway because it's giving you so many points. Like the difference, like from 21 to like 30 is like 10 points or something. Yeah, I think it's like 30 points for top 10, 30 points for top 20, and 10 points from 21 or something to 50.
Yeah, it's like 50, 40, 30, and then 10, 1. So I'm looking
top
at it right
50,
now. So.
Yeah, top 50 is fine as well.
Top
Yeah,
50,
so top,
top
With 10
50,
points.
yeah, it's 10 points, but afterwards it's just 1 point.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
drops a lot there.
Yeah,
I think
like with top 100 barely matters like at all. But like top 50 is fine in my opinion.
yeah, but I think it does because like Blizzard did this system just to give you two ways of qualifying in BlizzCon. Like you can do two things, or just go for a lot of points and try to be one of the players that will be directly advanced to the regionals, or
Yeah.
just gather 2 points, which is fairly easy. And if you gather 2 points, I think you can play in the last call tournament or something like that.
Yeah.
So if you get 80th, like let's say you get 1 point in one season, you get 1 point from a tournament, or in the second season, you can just qualify like that. So it gives you more opportunities, more ways to qualify. Some people don't have the time to get top 10, so they can just get top 100 and qualify that way.
I still think like there is a lot of skill involved because like or like creativity. Some people like I was playing 14 hours straight without food and without sleep from like 5 p.m. till like I don't know 7 a.m. whatever, maybe even more,
Sound
maybe
like a
even
very
more.
bad idea.
And just I bumped into those people, like people who were constantly in top 10. For example, like Dart was like on an A, he was constantly around 7th. And then when I was playing against him, a couple of hours before the season closing, he was like 300 or something or 200. Like people were like really great players were struggling to get back to top 100 after trying to get top 10. And then again, we had a guy like Sixo who was 3,000 plus, and then one day he went back to top 10, just like that. Like he just did that. Or like Colento again, getting like first with a pile of Pokemon cards, and because he just can't do that, right? So like,
Yeah,
you know, people can do it. Like Firebat second on an A again because he is Firebat. So it's like a lot of people are struggling, trying. Like as Orange said, like some people are really good at ladder. They understand how it works, but some guys are just like crazy good on ladder. Just like I don't know how what are the win streak. I would love to see the stats of those guys.
Yeah.
But
like consistently getting like top 10.
Yeah.
that would not be good for my confidence.
Look at the stats.
Yeah.
But it's definitely some players are geared more towards ladder for sure. And then, of course, as Orange mentioned, I mean, time is definitely a factor. And you guys all mentioned it. It's that, like Dethelor, you mentioned it, you could not be playing, but at the end of the season, time is a factor because if other people are constantly climbing, I mean, someone's got to move out, right? So it's something you got to guard. Yeah.
I couldn't play like because it was on the same time as the tournament, so I had to stop like on 200.
Yeah.
And I finished
so
not enough time to climb. Yeah.
And that's why people like Zixo, the reason he can stay one is like, you know, he tweeted just a couple days ago, like, well, I wasn't going to play on NA today, but someone took my #1 spot, so I had to play again and take it back. Like that's the mentality he has, and therefore that's why he can.
Exactly.
He has a notification. Yeah.
I had quite a sad experience with ladder this month because like they didn't stop DDoSing me before like it was half an hour left until the season, and yeah, then I was like rank 150 legend, and I got like 110 or something, and then the season ended. It was like the double daggers, like hitting me out of the pinnacle and destroying my season. Thanks a lot.
Oh man.
Yeah, I know. Kibler also like was trying to climb to I think it was either top 100 or top 50, but then he like ran into 2 control warriors in a row in the last 30 minutes. He was like, okay, well, I guess I don't have a shot now. So,
I mean, you can't concede, so you have to play it out.
Yeah, so that's but I agree that the point system definitely helps a little bit, so that other players, like you said, Detler, you pointed it right out, that if you know, if you don't think you can really commit the time, you know, you can just be satisfied with gathering 2 points within the year to go for the last call tournament and then try to, you know, test your confidence there. Speaking of excuse me, tournament itself, of course, now the format changed too. It's not King of the Hill anymore, it's Conquest. So basically kind of like a reverse, right, where the loser gets to keep their deck, but the winner must change their deck. What do you guys think about this format? I mean, we'll just throw it out there, open question.
Orange first.
No thoughts?
Can someone else start?
Well, okay, so I think I'll start with a couple notes. I think the interesting thing here is the losing player doesn't have to keep theirs, right?
Yeah.
So this opens up a lot more. It's not just reverse either. It's like both players could switch, but the winner must change. So you have to get your wins with all your decks. And I think the interesting point here is that you basically what we've seen in the past is with King of the Hill, not only do we kind of see the same deck formats from everyone, but we'll see decks that are prone to snowball. For instance, Handlock, therefore, was like the first choice for a lot of people. It's like, I'll bring it and I'll use it first because it has a shot at winning all matchups. Same with Miracle Rogue when it was popular. But now you can't you can't kind of like rely on that. You can't have one deck like that and then tech a different deck. Like all three have to be pretty consistent. And I think this speaks to a lot of the concerns that viewers had was that now these decks are going to be more relatable for ladder because you need to be able to win any sort of matchup. Let's talk about the winner side. What do you think about that? How does this affect people who perhaps were really good at basically building counter decks?
I think it's like talking about counter decks. The format is different because the current format that we're running is not perfect. The problem is that we have so it's like you win with a deck and then somebody has a counter and then you have a counter to this counter and then counter to counter. So most like the first pick is very interesting because it's a blind pick and they're like, oh, he picked rogue into my warrior, whatever, didn't expect that. But then everything is like, oh, it's like rogue versus priest. So I guess priest doesn't have a chance. And then there's like, oh, it's druid versus warrior. So druid has like 80% chance to win. And when casting the games, you can like map the whole game, what is going to happen and how the game is going to end up. So from the viewer's perspective, the tournament Hearthstone is like, okay, I guess this wins, this wins, this wins. Then we go to game 5, and whoever has this matchup and that matchup, the game ends. And in the conquest format, it's like you have the blind pick first, so that's great, and then the winner has to change the deck, and the loser can change the deck. So again, you have like a blind pick kind of,
Yeah.
because you can like have a different. You can stay with the deck if you lost, but you can pick something different. So there is no option to counter decking, which is like bring us back to what you said. Like the decks will be more like full, more interesting with less cards like Black Knight or I know maybe less silence. Like the metagame will change. I'm not sure if this will be still viable for ladder because you will still try to like catch your opponent off guard. Like, okay, so I won with this. I defeated his deck, but now I know his deck, and I know what the best decks are. So I have this lineup that is trying to counter possible lineups that my opponent is going to bring. Do we have the ban? We do have a ban, right?
I am actually not sure if we have a ban. Yeah, all right, let me read it again because I'm pretty sure it just says you bring 3 decks. Yeah, it just says submit deck list from 3 unique classes for a best of 5. So no bans either.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, which is pretty cool. I think that's okay, especially given the new format. But like you mentioned, Gnimsh, now there's mind games at every set, right? Because it's always a potential blind pick. Because even the winner, like, because basically the winner, you can't rely on the loser keeping the same deck because they're allowed to change, and you don't know the opponent's deck until the game starts. So the loser can also play mind games. It's like, oh, I lost with this one, and you can like look at the opponent's like 2 decks and just keep like going back and forth, and it basically becomes a mind game through and through.
Well, you do get information though, because the loser gets an information on what the winner can use, right?
Yeah.
It's like you won versus me with the druid. I'm like, okay, so the druid is out. Like you are not going to bring the druid. So I have my 3 decks. I lost with my mage, but you won't be bringing druid again. So I can like take this or that. So it's like with every game, you are getting more and more information, and then like the mind games continue. So it's not like, hey, I YOLO my rogue, you YOLO your warrior, or like, oh, next round, whatever, I just take this, like it doesn't even matter. No, it's like there is strategy, and people will come up with strategy, which is great. Like a new fresh format for a new year, I think is actually I'm really excited to like start building decks for this format. I think I never played it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see also if other tournaments will adopt it a lot more. What do you guys think? Our guests, Dethelor and Orange. Also, personally, would you prefer playing in this style, or would you prefer kind of King of the Hill?
I mean, I would personally prefer to play King of the Hill, but that is probably because I'm just resistant to change. Like I've gotten used to this. Like all this has gotten my like now I'm all confused. Like thinking about this new format because I have to admit I totally missed that this was the new thing. Like somehow that had passed me. Like now I'm all confused. Like what do I do now? Like, I have no idea, but I'm sure we will all figure it out. Get used to it, like as we did with King of the Hill, because like there have been since beta, since I played, there have been a lot of different forms to play matches in tournaments. And like King of the Hill, I feel like it's working out, but it has its flaws. I'm sure that this is not perfect either, but it's certainly new, refreshing, and interesting. So I mean, good enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely something. You always got to try to strive for something better.
Yeah, exactly.
Dethelor, what about you? Do you feel comfortable with King of the Hill too, or?
I am kind of on the other side. I like changing formats like occasionally because I think one of my strong points is like I can adapt to change and like quicker than other players. So yeah, I want new things. I want to try like, for example, I'm not a big fan of the ban format because like the bans are pretty much like, especially in the past, the bans were always on the same classes like Hunter, Warlock. Now we see some druids getting banned. For example, I preferred the coup over the ban, but yeah, conquest mode it's probably going to be pretty cool, especially since you have to play all decks you bring in order to win the best of 5, and because with the ban format sometimes you play like 1 or 2 classes in the whole tournament.
Yeah.
And one class you don't play it at all. For example, in the nationals in Greece, I never played Hunter because it was like on the Nax. So everyone banned my Hunter. So
I actually have follow up to that because I agree with Dethelor. I don't like bans as well because it seems like artificial way of balancing the game outside of the design that Blizzard has in mind. It's like in the beginning of Hearthstone, like 1 year ago, some tournament organizers were thinking about banning a card. So, like for example, you can't bring, let's say, Undertaker to the tournament,
right?
And it's really like trying to say, hey, Blizzard, like you messed up with this card. We just ban it so that players have to think about it. Like I'm not really the fan of that. And here, even if there is like a balance issue, if I have like my sick Hunter deck, I'm going to win 1 game max with it. And then you can still have the same deck and you can win 1 game with it. And then we just continue playing with other decks. So I think I'm really like, I didn't think about it that much because I didn't think about the Conquest format. But the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm convinced that this format is actually pretty amazing.
Yeah, I agree that bans have always been a method of kind of forcing balance. Even in other titles. For instance, I mean, I guess one case where it's the least, I guess, force is like StarCraft, right? Where you ban like maps and you veto maps. Like that's okay because it will keep rotating and you both get vetoes and like you pick order and whatnot, and you play all of them on ladder, etc. But whether it's Dota and League of Legends, or same with Hearthstone, even in Dota and League of Legends, you say it's inevitable, but at the same time, that's a way to kind of excuse yourself of different balances and reasons for that. And hopefully, this will change the direction. We'll see Hearthstone going in. I'm definitely excited to watch it. And definitely see kind of what cards specifically also maybe become new trends, because like you said, Gnimsh, very specific tech cards may not see as much play, but you might have one deck that has like that tech card and you bring it up for a matchup. It'll be fun. I think we'll see a lot more exciting like last sets too, because when you're down to that last deck and both of you guys have to use your last deck, I mean, you're going to be forced to just say, all right, well, here we go, just clench your teeth and go into the game, see how it turns out. You can't be like, oh well, I have like 3 more decks left, and there's no more leisure there.
So many options.
Yeah, it'll be pretty exciting.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that pans out, and we'll see if other tournaments, large tournaments, start to pick that up during the year, just because that's what it's going to culminate into for all the players. So I think the players might speak out to that as the year pans out. To round out some of our esports side of the discussion, of course, we touched upon it earlier. Reynad finally gets a first place under his belt. I mean, he talks about it himself. He's like, got one. I mean, yeah, congratulations to Reynad for sure. Also, MechMage playing a big part for him, but the version with Blinktron. Um, I mean, what did you guys think? Did you guys watch the tournament? What did you guys think of the deck list? Of course, that was released.
I have a thing or two to say about that.
All right,
Yeah.
I want to hear Orange in this.
Yeah, I want to hear.
I actually found out that Reynard was in the finals by Gnimsh because he tweeted at me and said, "Hey Orange, what do you think about Water Elemental and Blinktron in Mech Mage?" Because it just so happens that I actually played that exact combination of cards in Millennium House Cup over a month ago.
Right.
And now I'm like, I did I did a small statement like on Twitter that but because I didn't want to like take anything away from Reynard. Like it is a great combination. I don't even run it in MechMage anymore. Like. And stuff like that, so it was great of it. But I just made a small like statement that I did that at Millennium, and like so many people attacked me for copying Reynard, and I was like, this was a month ago, and they were like, yeah, but it built it a week ago on stream live. You certainly copied him. I'm like, okay, let's just drop it. Like, but big congrats to Reynard. The deck is great. Like I think that combination of cards are underrated. Like I heard so many people like when they saw Blinktron, all they thought of were Harrison and the Acidic Swampus. But like Water Elemental and Snow Sugar is so much better with Blinktron. So it's just insane. In my opinion.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
They do a way better job since you can drop them before you drop the Blinktron and disable the weapon immediately instead of waiting one turn and giving them value. Like most of the time, you wait one turn. So yeah, I really do like that interaction. I think it's great. I'm really glad to see Reyna do well with it, and like just seeing Reyna win a tournament overall because I think it deserves it after all this time.
Yeah. I mean, as much as Reyna might be at the center of a lot of, like drama or controversy on the scene, I mean, he's been around for a long time. He's been a strong name in the Hearthstone scene. Like, he's been hungry for a win for a while. I mean, love him or hate him, I think he deserved this one. And you got to give a hand to him for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly agree. I mean, I know like Reyna is a good friend and he is an amazing player. So I've been watching his plays like in tournaments and he tends to get unlucky. And this tournament, I haven't watched the finals, but I've seen Reyna doing a sweep with a druid. Like he was back to the wall with his back, and I was like, it was really tough. Like it was a tough spot mentally and like deck wise as well. But he was able to like stand his ground and sweep a Carlis, I feel, with the druid, and then he went forward and he never stopped. So. I feel like Reynard, maybe last year it didn't go well for him with the tournament performance, but I think like this year he's definitely a strong force like to reckon. So like playing versus Reynard, you should be afraid of what can he bring. Also like he is known for bringing like really interesting decks. Like Orange mentioned that he actually like had the Blinktron and Water Elemental before. But it's like Reynard just can bring this stuff. Like he played the Wind Speaker at DreamHack. He did bring some. He always like he has something new and exciting in his deck. So I think he really deserved that win. And by the way, that's actually his second tournament win because he did win the arena tournament.
It doesn't count. It doesn't count.
No one counts it anymore, which is like really sad.
I agree with
like it's not constructed. Come on, I'm very good at arena as well, but.
Did you win an arena tournament?
I've never been invited in one.
Oh, okay.
Good one. Yeah,
that's create your own
that's
tournament and then win
it. If Reynard invites me in the next one, I swear I will win it 100%. No, I say it right now.
Whoa.
I would watch that. I'm actually
excited.
I'm actually excited about the arena tournaments. I think we should have some more. It's like arenas they do require like other set of skills, and we talked to Masan before, and Masan said that he believes arena is more skill based basically because like on constructed there is more NG because everybody's playing the same decks, and in arenas you have more ways to outplay your opponent with the drafting of the deck and then with playing your deck that you prepared. So I think arenas do have the place to be played. Maybe not now. Like maybe Blizzard needs to introduce something else to be able to use that format. But because right now we have to do like so many shortcuts to have a tournament like that.
Yeah, Orange, you want to say something?
One thing to add, like let's just forget about like how competitive arena is or is not, but like just it being something different than ladder, like it is just a really big thing, because you guys, like I know for me, like I cannot play ladder for like 14 hours without eat or sleep. Like when I get a double kill commanded for the win, like for the 5th time, I get kind of tired of it. So I mean, like just having something different but still competitive. Like if they would introduce like competitive arena in some shape, way, or form, like it would be great. Just because it's different, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, personally, me too, right? I'm not a great arena player, but I'm kind of in the same boat as Orange. Sometimes, even if I'm winning, I'm like, all right, well, I've been playing the same cards, the same hero power for like ever, but I don't want to switch because this is what wins on ladder right now. So then, I just jump into arena, and I agree with what Masan said too, because I find myself looking at more points to improve in arena because you start from the drafting process itself, whereas with ladder, it's like, all right, well, I understand my deck. Like sometimes it is really RNG. It's not just an excuse. Like it really was RNG that lost you the game. So what can you do? But it would be interesting to see more arena tournaments.
I think like for people who come from Magic and World of Warcraft card game and basically other card games, limited, which is like arena, like drafting, is part of the skill you have to have if you compete in card games. So like most of the World Champs there was always a constructed part where you have to bring the deck that will counter the meta game, but there was also the limited part when you have to show your deck building skills, because that's like being creative at the moment, like making those decisions. So the world champion was the player who was actually good at both, like and could show the skills in both. And I hope that maybe this year for sure not, but maybe in a couple of years in Hearthstone we'll have this ability and format to actually add the arena and the drafting into the competitive formats and combine them for the world champs to have like the ultimate world champion who is good at both.
Would be intense. Yeah, it would be fun to watch.
We're still figuring out the format for constructed, so let's not rush it.
Yeah. True. Like, yeah, on what you said, arena, I think it's like higher skill but higher luck. It's like skill doesn't matter that much, but there's so many things to min-max. Starting from the draft, planning future turns, some very, very weird combos that never show up in constructed. And actually, I wanted to say something that, like, arena players were very prepared to play in weird situations caused by the Sky Golems, the Piloted Shredders, and the 5/8. For example, people in constructed, for example, never played with a lower Walker Chow in game, or like some weaker cards. Like the Pinside Summoner, for example, cost me one game one time. Like I got innervated. It's like some card. It creates unique situations that people haven't played in the past if they don't play arena. So arena is like.
I never thought about it that way. That arena players would be a little bit more accustomed to being prepared for surprises and odd.
That is a great point.
Yeah. And it's basically arena. Obviously, you definitely do have to have a larger understanding of all the cards. I mean, obviously, if you're a professional player who's trying to go for top 16, then that's a different story. Like you should know all the cards anyway. But for like the casual user, if you're just playing ladder, all you need to know is really your cards and just kind of the meta cards, right? Like it's like, oh, I know the Black Knight exists and things like that. But for instance, a couple days ago, I was playing Druid of the Fang in my Druid deck, and like someone tried to silence it because they had never played against it before, and it's like, oh well, that 7/7 is not going anywhere. Yeah, those are the things you definitely run into if you're kind of limited to what you play on constructed. It's something you can't break out of until you learn it the hard way. But well, it would be exciting to see more arena tournaments. But of course, we were talking about Reynad, and congratulations to him. And of course, it was nice to see. Different variations of Mech Mage and Orange. Of course, you had shown it at Millennium and House Cup too. But just the fact that these different variations exist, so that we can't just write off Mech Mage as like just one deck, right? It's like so many different variations. Do you run secrets or not? I think it's fun to watch.
exactly.
I think actually, you know what? Yeah, we'll take a quick water break, and then when we come back, we'll actually get to talk more about the actual meta since we finally had the Undertaker nerf go through. I'm sure everyone's really excited about that. We can see the thumbs up from you guys. And then we'll
Ah,
talk about
maybe thumbs up.
some other things too. Of course, there's been some controversial things coming up in the Hearthstone community too, so we'll discuss those when we come back from the break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in who knows, maybe like 2 minutes.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're back. We did get to talk a lot about all the tournaments that have been happening and plenty more coming up in Hearthstone. But now let's talk a little bit more about the meta itself, specifically, of course, Undertaker, the new thing. And then after that, in case you guys think we've forgotten, we haven't. Of course, there was quite an explosion on the Hearthstone scene with a certain player named Hosty. So we'll get to talk about that and kind of what our thoughts are on that and how we can prevent any such issues in the future. But before we get there, let's talk about Undertaker, something we can all be happy about, I think. I don't know if anyone here is like sad about Undertaker being nerfed. I don't think so.
I am. I actually am.
Are you
well,
really?
You are the
fun.
worst kind of person.
Oh, come on.
Why are you
Shots
sad
fired.
about it?
It's such a powerful card, and now it's gone. No, actually, I don't know. I'm still like trying to find myself in this nerf. Like, I'm happy that Hearthstone changed. I'm not happy. I'm not sure if the nerf was correct. I will be sure probably after some time because right now everybody is figuring stuff out. Like, in the beginning, I thought like, okay, Undertaker is still getting plus attack, so it's still a good minion. But then suddenly, like small gnomes like Clockwork Gnome, Leopard Gnome started trading with it, and Zombie Chow is just crazy good against it. So people just dropped it. I think like metagame needs to go for like a couple of more cycles before people are like, hey, there is a one drop that I can actually use in my deck and it works correctly with what I have. But right now, everybody seems to like just drop Undertaker. And without Undertaker, like Zoo is changing a bit. Zoo is changing into we've seen it designed by far about like the Divine Shield Zoo, and Hunter is gone for now somehow. Like people stop playing it. I still feel like Undertaker can be played in a Face Hunter, but like I'm still not sure what to think about it. But I am happy that the metagame has changed. Like I like it's refreshing, and people
Yeah,
are like not banning Hunter anymore. So I'm kind of happy. Let's say overall. Let's say I'm not sad. I'm just still like trying to figure out.
You're lying. You're lying.
It was a secret buff to Leper Gnome. Come on.
That's something we want to talk about. But before we get there, Orange and Dethelor, I mean, what do you guys think about the nerf?
Can I start?
Yeah,
Sure.
go for it.
Sure. Okay, well, I think the nerf is great. Like, let's. I'm just gonna. I know that the Undertaker was played in a bunch of decks, but as a ladder player, like, it all comes down to like Hunter, because that was the biggest deck with Undertaker in it. And like the problem I had with Hunter was not that it was too powerful or something. I think the deck was like quite easy to counter if you really wanted to do that, but then again, you like there are a bunch of factors like coming into that, so I won't go into that. But like the problem I have with playing against Hunter was that like you fell into like when you played against Hunter, like most of the time it was just to minimize the like amount of damage you took to the face, and then you like won eventually because they run out of stuff or something. Like most matchups went that way, and you just fell into a pattern when you did that. You were like it was the same thing over and over again, and like repetitive gameplay is not something I do really enjoy. Like I want everything to be like different, and like I felt like when playing against Hunter that was not the case. Like it just felt like I did the same thing over and over, and like sometimes I lost and sometimes I won, but like I never had fun. Like anyway, and also I did get my Golden Hunter before this happened, so I'm all happy.
Yeah, I just got my Golden Hunter like last week too. So
yeah,
I'm
you just wanted
that.
to throw that out. Yeah, I'm also Hunter's scum, but yeah, continue.
But yeah, I like what you said, because Blizzard themselves have spoken about how the reason they like to keep a certain amount of RNG is because it creates novel scenarios. But with Undertaker, yeah, you could have had the randomness of does he have a Clockwork Gnome or a Web Spinner, but either way the result is the same. You lose, right? Like there's no way around that. So it wasn't that novel anymore. What about you, Dethelor?
Yeah, first of all, I have to say that I'm still a believer because I played Undertaker in my tournament deck even after the nerf, but I kind of regret it about it. Yeah, Orange knows as well. He killed my Undertaker turn 2 or something very easily.
Oh yes, this
Yeah, I had Undertaker double Leopard, double Web Spinner in my opening hand.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I did go back and watch the VOD of that game, and it was like, was that really your starting hand? Like those Undertaker? If that would have been the old Undertaker, I would have been dead as. Yeah.
I think.
But
you continue.
Yeah, sure. Aside from the jokes, it's very healthy for the game because when you have the Undertaker, which is like buffed a lot, it's really nice for you. You enjoy the game, you enjoy crushing your opponent. But on the receiving side, it's terrible. You can't do anything. You have to waste your best removal, and eventually you just lose the game. So it was a very random factor. You always mulliganed for the Undertaker as a zoo, as a hunter, and the player that had an Undertaker at the turn to play always won, or like 90% of the time won. So yeah, a nice change for the game.
Yeah, it was such a you had to be so passive on the opponent side, right? That you really had no answer to it other than having to use everything, and that resulted in the whole anti-fun mechanic there. But I want to go back to what you jokingly said, Gnimsh, that it's like a secret buff to the Leper Gnome, but not just the Leper Gnome, but right now suddenly it's like we talked about this earlier during I think it was Deck Wars or Tabletop. Gnimsh and I were talking about what's a Cogmaster, right? It's like okay, well now he's like suddenly pretty much better, like 90% of the time, and then we have Clockwork Gnome who's still going to be able to do at least 2 damage guaranteed. So let's talk about the specifics of the nerf itself. So they nerfed it so it doesn't gain any health. Do you think that was too harsh? Is that maybe what you were referring to, Gnimsh, yourself about like, is this the right nerf?
Well, the thing is like, it seems harsh because right now you have so many different cards you can play instead of the Undertaker. But I think it's all the things, like all the things we talked about. Like one of the most important things is what Dethelor said, the mulligan decision. When for example, I was playing Mech Mage before the nerf, and I didn't run Cogmaster. I was running Undertaker and Med Scientist because there are so many defiled minions. So on stream, I was always saying, all right, I'm mulliganing 3 cards because I'm trying to get Undertaker opening. And the difference between Undertaker opening into like Undertaker Mad Scientist, into like Piloted Shredder, and no Undertaker opening, so let's say Clockwork Gnome into Mech Warper, the difference was so huge, it was just incredible. Like the card was really snowballing there. So it did destroy the mulligan, because normally you just like look at the cards, you're looking for a specific matchup cards instead of like a specific opening, always the same. But on the other hand, what you said with Cogmaster, it's like right now you can think about one drops. Like when you're building a deck, you're like, okay, well, so I'm not including Undertaker now because it sucks, but I can include this card. Like even Clockwork Gnome is better because Clockwork Gnome is going to trade with Undertaker. It's no condition, unconditionally has 2 attack and will give you a card, like a spare part. So it is a better card. Like Undertaker becomes like a 2/2 at best. That's really easy to kill. Even if you buff it into like a 4/2, great. Still, Clockwork trades with it. Like Holy Smite kills it. Like whatever, like everything kills it. So maybe like after the nerf, you can still play Undertaker, but you do have choice at least. Like you can look at those cards and say, hey, Cogmaster will be better in my deck. Clockwork no will be better in my deck. Leper no will be better in my deck. Maybe Argent Squire will be better in my deck because I do have the synergy with the shield. Orange wants to say something.
No. I just want to point it out that yes, other one drops all of a sudden got available, and that is awesome. Like there's no point in playing anything else but Undertaker as your one drop because it was just too powerful. And like I wish I was kidding, but I'm not. Like every deck should just run like if you were going to play an aggressive side, like you would run Undertaker, and you like no matter how bad the other one drops were, but as long as it is said Death Rattle, they like pause the test because you got so many free wins of your Undertaker. And like now all of a sudden like cards like Argent Squire can make a comeback because like it's not a requirement that your one drops have Death Rattle anymore. So yeah, I just really wanted to enforce that point that like that is huge, and I do love that.
Yeah, it's like back in the day, right? In beta, the joke was that if you just play Hunter, you type Beast into your search in your collection, and you like put all the cards in, you win. And then after Undertaker, it was like Undertaker, and then you type Death Rattle, and then you just like put all the cards in, and you win. But no longer is that the case. And
now you type Mech, and you play all the mechs.
True. But yeah, it has opened up a lot more options. But speaking of whether the nerf was too harsh, it's been very apparent. It's been talked about in interviews too about how Blizzard's theory with Hearthstone is that you nerf cards, right? You don't buff them. And what do you guys think about that? Like, what if? So far, we haven't seen this because eventually cards like Leroy and other cards have made their way back in. So thankfully, Blizzard clearly has done a fantastic job. But what if a card was nerfed too hard? Do you think that can have a negative impact, or if it's like, oh well, that card, like 1 out of 10, if that one got nerfed too hard, like it's okay, we'll move on because we have like 500 other cards to work with?
I think we've seen that actually with Unleash the Hounds being for mana.
Mm-hmm.
And
oh,
so
that's true. Yeah,
they like nerfed it too hard, and then people just dropped it. Well, basically that was like a different thing because Unleash the Hounds did something else. Like they changed the card.
Yeah,
put
they
it
changed
for mana,
it. That's true.
and then everybody was like, "This is unplayable." So they put it at 2, and then everybody like too powerful. And we found it at 3 mana. I think it's balanced now. Like Unleash the Hounds is a card, but like balancing the game is always a tough process. Like in the beginning, Blizzard didn't have that big of a team, but right now they do have like a lot of people, experienced people who are balancing. Like our own Reels guy, who was like just one of the pro players playing with us. He's on the balance team. That Mike Donay, like they have a lot of great guys who know how the game should tick. So yeah, I think like they're balancing pretty well. But just following up on your question was like, what if they do nerf it too much, right?
Yeah, specifically about Undertaker, we're talking. What do you think would be kind of the way to go with that? Basically, if you thought the nerf was too hard, what would you have expected the nerf to be? I mean, because for instance, I'll put out some options there, right? Other people that have commented on it are like, well, maybe it should have only been buffed for like the first Death Rattle minion per turn, or maybe it should get like more attack if the health is going to stay that way. But all of those also seem iffy, right? So is this card also just kind of doomed to be like unbalanced one way or the other? Is that what you guys think? You guys are all like nodding your heads.
Can I say something? Yeah. Sorry. I believe that Blizzard has stated a lot of times that they want to keep the names and the effects really simple. But all of the ones I think all of us have played the different card games. I was at Yu-Gi-Oh! You were at MTG and you were at WoTCG, right?
Yeah.
So I think in those games we had some really difficult text names, some weird effects. But in Hearthstone they want to keep things extremely simple, so the guys that play the game in their tablets, in their PCs for the first time can understand everything clearly, and the game does not, just scare them away. So I think Undertaker was kind of doomed to have this change, because if they did something like dynamic health, one idea was that if the death rattle minion dies, the Undertaker loses his HP and it drops back to 2 HP. But I think that's too weird for some people to understand, and it's also kind of clunky, because if a minion gets damaged, it doesn't die. If for example, like Stormy Knight, if a minion is at 5 HP and it gets damaged to 4, and then the Stormy Knight dies, it does not drop to 3, it stays at 4. So it would be a very weird mechanic.
That's true.
Agreed.
Yeah, the card text definitely limits a little bit. Yeah, what were you gonna say, Orange?
Yeah, I think the nerf is like perfect. Like I love it. Like it's very simple, and it doesn't make the card unplayable at all. Like as you mentioned earlier, like the card is still very playable in Face Hunter. But I hope no one plays that deck. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's clean. I think it's good. Like I have no problem with former staple card becoming like not as played anymore. Like that's how it goes. Like cards get nerfed. Like I do miss Leroy Shadow Step, but like it happens.
Yeah. So, it's inevitable.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
It's really hard to balance the cards, just like thinking about it. Like Blizzard has the team, they do playtest. They like the most important thing is that the guys, they change the card and then they playtest it. So like we can think about, hey, what will be better, what we think will be better, but we do have our own preference. Like at Blizzard, the guys are just coming to work. They're like, okay, let's change it to a 1/3 that gets buffed only with attack, and then they play with it, and then they realize, oh, this is still too powerful. So let's change it to maybe like a 2/1, and that grows. And then they test, and oh, it's too powerful. So it's not like a whim. It's not like, hey, let's just whatever, like nerf it. Let's do whatever. Like keep it simple. No, they do test it. They do think about it. They have meetings. So well, I would just go with like I believe in the guys, and I just have to see how it works in the meta game to make my own changes to my decks. But I believe that the nerf, well, as we see right now, like the card is kind of like eliminated from the metagame, but still the card is not like the worst. It's still a decent 1-drop. You can play it in certain decks, but it's not mandatory to include it.
Can I add something? We've seen Blizzard to do some like changes. I have to find the word, like preactive changes and reactive changes. For example, the Undertaker nerf was reactive, and most of the changes we remember, like Unleash, was reactive. But they also made some very correct changes, like the Auctioneer, the Flare, the Soulfire, also like the Eaglehorn Bow, because like secrets now are stronger. And if Flare was at 1 mana, I think like Hunters would run like 2 Flares each and counter Freeze Mage, Fatigue Mage really hard. So now it's really a side deck card and not like a staple like it used to be. We also have to note the clear thing that Miracle with an Auctioneer at 5 mana with all these spare parts would be insane. So
man.
Yeah, they probably tested it in the beta. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing also, like I really like it about Hearthstone being a digital card game, because in the normal card game, how you balance things is like people bought the cards, they have physical cards with themselves, so you can issue an errata, but then like somebody comes to a tournament, he wants to play a game against you, and you're like, oh, your card doesn't do what you think it does, it does something else. And
like take out a Sharpie and like write it
out.
Yeah,
it's so weird, right? But so like what people do at normal card games is like developers, they do balance the state of the game by releasing new cards. So let's say there's like let's equipments are too strong. So in the new set there is a lot of equipment removal to be able to balance the strong equipments. But in Hearthstone, Blizzard can just make this change on the fly, and it fixes the game. It refreshes the meta game because now we don't play it, and it's not like we have to play with Undertaker for the next like 3 or 5 months before we get a new adventure mode. We have a new meta game right now, which is
Yeah.
like people will figure it out. This is great. This is really like a big plus of Hearthstone.
Yeah. Hey, I just wanted to add that like even if like the Undertaker nerf closes some doors on some decks, like some decks become like less playable. Like it opens the door on like so many decks. Like for example, like every deck, like if you played in ladder, like you had to have a plan against Undertaker. Like if you didn't have a plan against Undertaker, like if you didn't run Rockbiter, Wrath, Fire War Axe, you name it, like you would just lose a large percentage of your games to like not having a removal spell on turn 2. Like you still did because you didn't draw them, but like this opens up that like now maybe you don't like maybe that's not a necessity anymore. Like maybe you can even play a game even if you don't have like a removal on turn 2. So and like a lot of other decks become like more viable because of that. I think that it like that is just great. Like we already seen like Firebat posted on Twitter yesterday like a mech shaman deck like that I don't think would stand a chance against the like old hunter decks, but like and now I played it in ladder for the past day and it's like been awesome and super fun because it's new and it's amazing. Like we see new things happen and that's great. We also like mech mage wasn't this big like before.
Mm-hmm.
Also, so yeah, I think even though some doors closes, like a lot of new ones gets opened up. So I do like that part about it.
Breath of fresh air for sure. I think most people in the end are pretty appreciative of that change. So even if you were like a hunter player and you found no problem with it, the other thing I've noticed is now it also opens like hunters to like examine other options that have been good but just haven't been as good as the like hunter taker deck, right? It's like, well, now I can play a slower deck and it's okay because other hunters will not automatically be playing Undertaker. So like you guys have all been mentioning, I'm pretty excited to see how things pan out. And again, it's only been a week, so it's going to take like another month for things to settle down, and then we'll see another change come out, whether it's server side or player side, and we'll get to see that continue through 2015. And now, of course, it's time for us to talk about our friendly ghost, Ghosty. Now,
you said that.
I mean, hey, if that's what it's gonna be called. Now, by me saying that, I don't mean to say that I have my judgment panned out. It's just that's just the topic, right? The topic is let's talk about that. First of all, I mean, if you guys want to, feel free to discuss whether if you what you think about the specifics of what actually happened or not. But regardless of, I think the important thing here is for us to discuss is not whether did it actually happen or not. It's that it can happen. Whether it happened with Hosty or not, it can happen with other people. How do we prevent that, etc. So let's start with a very obvious thing, right? It's that people put up delays sometimes, and in other titles, for instance, people put up delays to prevent ghosting, and this can happen in live action games just fine because something like 10 minutes ago isn't going to matter. For instance, I'll just use League of Legends because it's the game I've casted the most. It doesn't matter because the thing that's going to matter the most are probably like say Baron or Dragon Timers, which is 6-7 minutes. So it's already past the 10-minute mark. You can't really gain as much information anymore. And this was the discussion everyone's been having. Does 10 minutes do justice in Hearthstone? What do you guys think?
I think no. Like in certain matchups for sure, but overall, like no way. Like games go to fatigue. That's the reality. Like and if like let's say you played a warrior control mirror and you happen to mulligan into Alexstrasza in your starting hand, there's a very very real possibility that that card won't get played in like 10 minutes. And like if I just keep the stream up, like I will very easily see that my opponent has Alexstrasza and I can play around it. Like this is certainly not true when you play like the fast matches and so, but just that the large percent of games doesn't get affected by it, like doesn't mean it's not a problem. Like if like one game in 100 gets affected by it, like there is still advantage to be made of like having the stream open even if it's on delay. So yeah, I would just like to see. I would. I mean, I'm a bit biased because I got DDoS, but I would just like to see tournaments pre-recorded.
Right.
Like, overall, like because.
Yeah, we'll want to talk about that for sure, different methods and how this ties into DDoSing too, because like you said, it kind of affects both, right? Anything about the whole live feedback affects both. But I want to hear what Dethelor thinks about the whole 10-minute aspect.
Do you remember against whom did Hosty play in the first game?
Live
It's a question. Yeah, so maybe it was a temptation to snipe him, to ghost his cards. I don't know. It was like the perfect game to do it, right?
Yeah.
Oh come on, live coach is getting faster and faster, especially if there's no storm on board.
Oh come on!
We did have a pretty fast game on ladder yesterday.
He turned 2 and turned 3 lifetap roped against me, so I have to
good old rope coach.
Yeah, it was.
Oh my god.
Yeah, turn to rope, but yeah, it was like something that could have happened in the past a lot, and we just saw it happening. And the problem with Hosty was that he was also in the stream, so he could not like say I was not in Twitch, so he has like accepted that. He has said I was okay. I had the Twitch open. I didn't look at it, at least. But yeah, I believe that they should increase either the delay of the tournaments to like 30 minutes or something, or just pre-record the whole stuff. And this also helps with DDoSs and stuff.
I want to even add to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because like we are talking about what delay is good, because like the game starts and Orange was saying that you can have Alexstrasza in your hand, but Strifecrow was going to an extent of missing lethal on purpose to conceal the information that he has a Black Knight in his hand, like against one of the opponents. So basically, it doesn't even matter what kind of like delay there is. Like you want to use your strategy to conceal the cards that you're running in your deck. So like the delay doesn't matter. Like you put like 1 hour delay, but I win 2 games against you, and then you ghosted. So you know that I have a certain card against your matchup, even though I was like doing everything to conceal that I have this Black Knight or like BGH, whatever. True. So here I think like pre-recording is actually an answer, but then there's like the question is like, what does it change? Like, does it change the viewer experience if the tournament is pre-recorded or not? Like, I think in the past we had, well, especially also in the DDoS era, like in the past we had some really good tournaments with high numbers that had the pre-recorded match and live casting. Like I was doing it with Frodan for VGVN, for example. Matches were pre-recorded, we live casted. It was still like amazing, and people were excited about it. The only problem is that the players sometimes they get upset and then tweet about it. It's like, oh, I lost against Masan. And they're like, no shots fired. Sorry, I just like,
yeah.
But
you have
like,
to hide.
Wait, but you're like 1-1. What's happening? It's like, you know, it's like if you pre-record, you basically do it during the week. Like it's not like you can play all the games 6 hours before the tournament and then bam, you just get the tournament ready. Like you have to have the players keep their integrity and not spoil the scores.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of like finding the golden middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
okay, go ahead, Orange.
Oh, okay, yeah, but like I just want to say that I know for like people I've been seeing a lot of complaints about the viewer experience being like less fun or less exciting or whatever. Like I happen to know that like a very big tournament that was played like quite recently was actually pre-recorded without anyone knowing about it. Like everyone thought it was live, and like it didn't change the viewer experience whatsoever. So like I don't think that would. I don't think that is a problem at all, and I just think that is people resistant to change. Like, yeah, I'm such a big fan of just pre-recording tournaments, but there is the problem that you have to trust the players that are playing with it, as Gnimsh said.
Exactly. I mean that puts a little bit of burden on the players, but it shouldn't be something too hard to manage. I mean, obviously sometimes you are emotional, win or lose, right? You want to share, like if you win, you want to share it with the world, you want to share it with your fans as soon as possible. Or at the same time, maybe the broadcast is going to be at like an hour that you're sleeping, then you can't like tweet right after it ends. So there are for online tournaments there are other issues, but I do agree with Orange that it only affects your viewer experience if you know about it ahead of time, right? Because if you know about it, then for whatever reason, I mean, I'll agree. If you know about it, then because you're human, it suddenly doesn't feel as intense because you're like, well, it already happened. Like the result is out there somewhere. Someone knows. But at the same time, if you don't know, then you just watch it like it's live and it's okay. So, that puts the burden on the organizers and the players. But I think for the sake of integrity on both DDoSing and ghosting, I think it is a better answer to kind of pre-record and go through that. And maybe the casting can be live still, because then like the casters can react on social media and things like that, and there's still some more interaction with fans. Like you mentioned, Gnimsh. The casting doesn't also have to be pre-recorded, but the games probably would be a good idea. Do you have anything to add, Deathlor?
Yeah, I think you can't do anything about ghosting. If someone is going to do it, you can't prevent it because you don't have a way of proving it
Yeah.
unless you are in the chat. Okay, that's one reason, or probably a glance or all the controversy that appeared. But no one
Whoops.
can tell me that. Oh, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like
But
it's just you have to trust your opponent that he will not do it and you will not do it as well. So
mhm.
it's just fair play.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
like a lot of ways to cheat, especially in the online tournaments. Like some people probably cheat and we don't even know how they do it. Like
True.
people go on Skype, people use like I'm still not sure if like overlays like uh, is it like Hearthstone Tracker are like
Right.
allowed or not, because they do count your cards and they show what's happening and they count percentages for you so that you exactly know what's the chance of somebody drawing a card instead of like doing the math yourself. So like I'm sure there are other ways to cheat, like people don't even realize it, and some people use it still, maybe even like hacks and stuff. So we will face those problems, and we will try to like prevent the things from happening. But you can only be reactive. Like something happens and you do react to that. It's like, especially when something new happens. Hopefully we'll have less of those problems in the future.
Yeah, I think this brought light to a lot of issues with, and you know what? I actually think the good thing about this is that this is bringing more attention to the whole DDoS problem, how to go about that, and bringing more arguments for pre-recording. Because before with DDoS, like pre-recording tournament organizers would be like, well, fans have said it ruins the viewing experience, so we won't go with that. But now there's like even more reason to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that's also a positive direction. And again, the viewers don't have to know, then the viewer experience won't change. And I mean, the viewers listening to this might feel like they're going to be lied to then, but like, like please don't think of it that way. Like you're not being lied to. It's just like no one's lying blatantly that it's live. It's just we're just not telling you what it is. Like
Don't tell
that's the
don't
only
tell
difference.
anyone we actually pre-recorded DreamHack. We we
All
met
right.
like 1 week before and then we broadcasted it 1 week after.
Yeah.
So you just hire like guest actors to like stand in a stand in a crowd. But yeah, and our producer actually just pointing out right now, it's just like a stream delay except longer. It's like a 10-minute stream delay never ruined a tournament for anyone. So why is like a day delay gonna ruin it for you, right?
I, I
As long as the players don't say anything.
I had to wait 15 minutes to tell everyone that I won my match. It was horrible. No, but
Yeah, it's tough on the players, yeah.
yeah. But can I like? Is this opportunity I have to go on a rant about what happened to me during the Pinnacle, or
Sure, yeah,
does that
yeah.
come later? Yeah, okay, yeah. I just wanted to talk about that because, I'm still extremely upset about what happened to me during the Pinnacle.
Mhm.
For those that doesn't know, that didn't watch it, I was playing in the Pinnacle. I'm through qualifying. Like I I can't even count how many hours I spent preparing for both the qualifier and the main event. I took days off work and I did everything I could just to get as much time I could at home to playtest and like think about things, like get the best decks, and yeah, stuff like that. I spent an insane amount of time to prepare for that. Like it began really well. I got out of the group stage, like although in the losers bracket after losing to Strife Crow, but I managed to free award the U, and then win a close one against Trump. And I was like really excited about day 2, even though I knew that DDoS was like a huge threat to me, and but the thing was that I haven't been to that many mayor tournaments, or like I haven't played in a single mayor online tournament, so I was not used to the DDoS threat at all. Like if and like it, this is a very reasonable approach, but like the approach that the admins took for tournament was like you players have to prepare yourself. Like there are guides out there, and there are stuff you can do to prevent this. Do it, but like it isn't on us, which is fair. But the thing is, like I looked at all these guides, like even though I heard what it said and what I should do, I didn't really know what the threat was, like because I've never experienced it myself. And then when it came to day 2, like there were stuff a lot of stuff I could have done very differently, because they managed to DDoS me during when I was like the first time when I was 2-0 up against Dethelor in our match, and like as soon as it hit me, like as soon as my internet went down the first time, like I just knew it was over. I just knew I was out of the pinnacle, and and like seeing that much time, like for a lot of players, like let's say for the King win, like DDoS is a terrible thing, but all those are already like sponsored players, like big names out there. But like for me and Dethelor, this is our chance to break through, like to get out on the scene and like become somebody like in the Hearthstone scene, and like get it going out in a way where you didn't even get to like play for it. Like certainly felt really horrible, and I can't even like explain how bad I felt. Like our producer here, Seaman, for this, like saw my reaction in the chat, which was and Dethelor, like I was not very happy about it. And yeah, I just think that like, and it ruined so much. Like to be fair, like let's say I had a fair shot at winning that match. I'd say like it wasn't for sure or anything, but I did have a good shot at winning that match. Like
it was like 50-50.
Yeah.
It was like yeah.
Because
like
it isn't very relevant how it would have turned out, but like, I never get to know how far I would have gotten.
Right,
like,
that's the big thing.
And like to me, like I could still be the winner of the Pinnacle too. Like I don't know, like some things could have gone my way, and that could have happened. Like I'm not saying it would, but like just the thought that it could have been me is like yeah, it's not a nice feeling to have afterwards, and like I never ever want anyone else to experience what I did experience like again. So yeah, I'm trying to do like I had a good talk with Hamas about it, and I've talked with like a lot of other people about it. But like, please do everything in your power to like prevent DDoSing from happening, because yeah, it's just such a horrible thing if you're in me and Dethelor's spot, like when you're an up and comer, and like we are also the most vulnerable to it since we are not experienced with it. So
yeah,
for the experienced players, like they probably know, but like because they've been there, but we haven't been there yet, so. Yeah, it kind of ruins our time to shine, so to say. Like, yeah, I don't know if this made sense, but I just wanted to get that out of
absolutely.
my system.
No,
I'm
glad you had a chance to share. And I think the important thing that you point out is that for players like you guys, it's not just that it like ruins like the prize money or whatever, right? It's that you pretty much like they're like preventing something ahead of time and taking it away from you, rather than taking away something that you already like have. And so it's not like they're taking away from the wealthy. It's like, well, we're gonna not only take away the potential prize money, but also your like marketability in this tournament.
I couldn't care less about the prize money in this.
Right.
Yeah,
In this instance,
like
exactly.
that is the least on my concerns.
Exactly. Because it's your
Yeah.
effort that kind of just like vaporized, and there's not much to do about that. So
Exactly.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
who
that-
knows? Maybe if I didn't get DDoSed versus Life Coach, and if Orange didn't have any trouble, maybe we would meet in the finals. Because
Exactly.
who knows?
yeah, and that's the worst part. I like what you said. I like the way you put it, Orange, is that it doesn't matter if you actually would have won or not, but the fact that you have to sit there and think that I could have, instead of knowing for a fact whether you did or not, it's like it leaves a bad taste in your mouth for anyone, right? It's like, even if you didn't win, it'd be better to not win by losing than like being eliminated because it was nobody's fault. Like that's a much worse feeling.
The problem is that you guys are the most tasty aims for the DDoSers, and like
Yeah.
the more you are
Absolutely.
concerned, the more you are hurt about it, the more tasty you are as a target, because they
Sure.
want to, like, they DDoS to create sorrow and to create like reaction. So like if they would DDoS, they would target you again because you are upset about it. You are vocal about being upset. Like if they DDoS Trump and Trump is like, oh yeah, I got DDoSed. Like why would they target him again? But in your case, you're just well. It's good that you're vocal about it because you are bringing it to the community, and it's not that we like the community should feel sorry about you, but they should be aware that those things happen, and you are saying, hey, I'm bringing the warning. This happened to me. Protect yourself. Like I wasn't aware it happened. Now I'm protecting myself, and you protect yourself as well because it can happen to anyone.
Yeah, because I'm well aware that like if I want them to like personally stop harassing me because they're doing that, like I should just ignore them and like stop talking about it. But that would mean that, as you said, like the community wouldn't be as aware of the threat as they should be, and like that is a problem. So I kind of feel like it's my, like, not mine, but like everyone's responsibility to the community to like talk about this, because there are certainly ways like to prevent this, and but we just need to help each other. Like the experienced players has to help the less experienced players, basically, and like everyone has to help everyone. Like that's just how a community works, or should work at least. So I just think that's a very big thing when it comes to this. Like talk about it, like even though it is bad for you personally, but so that the community altogether gets more protected against the threat overall.
I agree.
That's why we're talking about different solutions like pre-recording tournaments. I have a short story to add to that. I was talking to Sixa when he was grinding ladder, and he was super happy about qualifying for the NESL King of the Hill, I believe. Like, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm so happy. Like, I qualified. I went through the qualifier, and then like I had this insane run on ladder, and I'm like super excited and worried because like it's good money, so I have to prepare myself." And then I'm reading on Twitter that he actually got DDoSed and like didn't even play his games. I'm like, seriously, it's so sad to hear those things.
Yeah.
It's the worst. Can't even put it into words. Yeah, go ahead.
If you want to add anything, just do it.
I'm good.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to say my side of the story as well, because it was like on the same thing, but on a different events happened. Like I was not expecting I would be qualified for the closed qualifier for the Pinnacle, because I was not in the first one. Orange, I think you were in both, right?
Yeah, I got top 8 in the first one.
Yeah, I was not invited in the first one, but I had the achievements I needed, so I talked to like some guys, and eventually I was invited. And that it was like 1 or 2 days before the event, so I was really hyped for it. So I started practicing really hard for just 1 day because I didn't have more time. And eventually my decks helped me a lot, and I think I dropped just 3 games until the final, and I won like 4-0 qualifiers. So I was super hyped because like I was an underdog coming to the qualifiers. The qualifiers were very tough. We have to say that not a single player in the qualifier was a new player. All of them were beasts. It was the toughest. And after beating Forsen, I was hyped to play against Life Coach. I didn't manage to because we had some troubles with the patch and so on. So it was left for the next day. It was a tough day for me, but I went home. We started the game, and as I saw the disconnect, I was like, I think I was winning 1-0. He was about to tie the score. I realized what happened. So I talked to the admins of the tournament, and I was like, okay, I have to do something about it. Maybe I can try another VPN. Maybe I can try logging from another PC. And my call was to go to an internet cafe, but I think I was too late because they were really rushing with their schedule because it was like we missed 2 games, so we had to finish very quickly for the finals and so on. I had to run like 500 meters to get to the main road. I took a cab, yeah, and I was like 5 minutes late, and I just learned that I forfeited the match with Life Coach. And it was a terrible feeling because if I won that game, I would be top 4 without having to win any other matches, or top 3, I think. I'm not sure. Yeah, I was like Orange explained. My friends were there because they had the qualifiers of the LAN I was invited to in the next day, and I was like crazy. I explained them what happened. They had no idea, and yeah, They tried to calm me down so I could just play the next game, because I was in a danger of dropping the next series as well because of just being in a bad spot. Yeah, as for the games with Orange, it was like I felt really bad about what happened. He crashed me 2-0 with Rogue. Then I put my Druid, and well, actually, he got DDoSed in the first game, but I believe it was like over with my hand. And the next game I topped the Lethal as you got DDoSed. Yeah, you had chances, but it was like.
The fun fact about that fourth game was that I got DDoSed, so I didn't even know that I lost because I got DDoSed right before he killed me that turn.
Yeah, like, I told you. I wrote you in the chat. I wrote you in the chat. Okay, I topped the Lithan at least, so you don't have to feel bad. But
the thing was that Simon first of all wrote GG in the chat, and I was about to go nuts because I thought he meant that the DDoS meant GG, and I was like, "Well, Simon, I have a thing to tell you." Then I realized, he actually said, "Oh." Well.
Shout out to Simon.
Yeah, shout out to Simon. He's great.
Yeah.
You can continue.
Yeah. And the third game and the fifth game was like my Druid against either his handlock or his Druid, and we never played this game. But it's like anyone's game. It's not like a very bad matchup for him. It's 50-50 at best.
Yeah,
so
I did even pick Warrior because I knew that you would ban either handlock or Druid, and it was up to you. So I knew that you would never ban my Warrior. So I just wanted to play my Warrior first of all to like get more information. But like that kind of backfired since I didn't even get to play the game. So well.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, I mean, we've had plenty of, I think, instances now in both DDoSing and, potential ghosting and whatnot that it's been brought up for tournament organizers to really just online. And this is specifically online, right? Because for LAN, it doesn't matter. But for online, for organizers to try to figure out, what else can we do to go about that. On the flip side, of course, for players, and this is like a call from both you guys and all of us actually, that it can happen to anyone. So if you're going to play in a tournament and like that you feel that they haven't put up the measures, then at least you should do everything you can. You should look up everything, even if you don't think you have to. Better safe than sorry, really. That's what it comes down to.
That's a nice thing to say, yeah.
Yeah, better safe than sorry.
Better safe than sorry.
At all times. That's it for us in terms of topics here that we have prepared for today's Turn 2. I think we had a lot of good discussion about all the things we brought up. But before we sign off, of course, I want to give you guys a chance to give shout-outs, both of you guys. If Dethelor, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I want to thank my team for the support all these months. They're doing their best. I also want to say thanks to my teammates and also to the other Greek players. One team that comes to mind is Team Reg. They helped me a lot with the preparation of the event. And also shout out to some other guys that helped me to practice. Blackout for making me play Face Hunter Kappa because it went 0-3. Yeah, 6-0 helped me a lot as well. And if I forgot someone, I'm sorry. And last but not least, I'd also like to say thanks to CLS, a clan like Strike, because they just helped me with my streaming and stuff.
Right on. And you, Orange?
Well, I want to make a shout out to my team, Team Darkstar, our sponsors, Logitech Gaming, Wood Chile, and Ten Tails. Also, I want to a shout out to all my great teammates that have been helping me, and like I would never have like qualified or played in any of these tournaments if it weren't for them. So yeah, you guys are great, and you know it. Also, shout out to Machinima and Turn2 for having me here. It's been really fun. Thanks.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for having me as well.
No, yeah, thanks for joining us. It was a lot of fun. We had some fun talks here today with you guys, and of course Gnimsh and myself. And all of you guys watching, you can find all four of us, in our social media. You can see it below our cameras, I'm sure, on your screens, and you'll be able to keep up with what else we do. And so for Orange and Dethelor, hopefully we'll get to see more of you guys in future tournaments. And for all our viewers here on Machinima, Gnimsh and I will be back next week with more, Deck Wars, Tabletop Turn 2, basically more Hearthstone action every week, same day, same time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.
See you.
See you guys.
Yeah.